So separated by the better part of a decade and a voice assistant, just how good or how big is the upgrade from the Google Nest Mini to the Google Home speaker? And is it a worthy revision? Well, let's get into it in this video. For everything Gemini, Google, speakers, Android and the rest, well, do the right thing first and become a subscriber of the channel. It's good for me and it's good for you, and I call that a win-win. Cheers. If you are looking for something more powerful, significantly louder and more capable for playing music across a large room, for instance, the bigger, newer hardware easily hits the mark. No need to watch any further in this video. But if you do want the full details on whether it justifies the marginal extra space that it adds, the cost and everything else, well, continue watching. So if you look at the designs, Google takes us on a similar path but manages to separate the past products this time around. The Nest Mini has always been a set it and forget it fabric covered puck that simply rests on a side table or with that mount plate at the back of it actually hangs inconspicuously from a wall if you do put a screw in, or a wall mount if you've purchased one of those. I think whether it's down to the new internals or a conscious decision to make a bigger model, the larger Google Home speaker, on the other hand, I think is designed to be more of a prominent part of your home decor. That said, it isn't a major departure from the Mini's hidden hardware approach that it's had for a long time. So to kind of put it into perspective, it does feel like just a bigger brother. The bigger, older brother, as it were. Because of its height, weight, and the acoustic requirements, you simply can't pin it to a wall this time around, and there's no mount to do so, at least one that's baked in. We may see third-party ones further down the line. You will need to dedicate a space on a shelf or maybe a prime spot on your kitchen counter or a side table in your bedroom to accommodate its very, very modest size increase. The new flagship stands at 86.6mm tall, 107mm in diameter. So if placed side by side with the Nest Mini, the speaker is more than twice as tall, stretching an extra 44.6mm into your vertical space. Not that matters too much. That's good news, I think, but it only also demands a modest 9mm of extra width on your counter. So if you have a really specific spot that you want to put this, those are the dimensions that you need. It does keep a relatively compact footprint on your shelf, as I say, utilizing that taller, heavier volume to house that upgraded 58mm full range driver. More on that in just a second. So Google has actually done some good things here. They finally switched to a USB-C cable for the power on the home speaker, but it is non-detachable in the opposite direction. The Nest Mini cable is detachable. It's a traditional DC barrel plug with a blocky fixed power brick on the other end. You can actually use any USB-C charger as long as it's 30 watts with the home speaker if you want to, which I do think is great for flexibility if you want a smaller power brick. I think the age of the tiny smart speaker, though, when we start to look at these two devices, is basically over for now, as it were, if this is the smallest in Google's concurrent and future lineup. Colours also play a role depending on where you plan to put a smart speaker. While the Nest Mini did come in a variety of muted shades to blend into different rooms and different places, the home speaker mostly sticks to simple neutral tones, but with one bold, bright berry option. Sadly, the annoyance here is that the jade and berry colours are actually limited to the US market. For the rest of us, we're stuck with porcelain, and I think this one's called hazel. I'm calling it black. It looks like black to me, at least from a distance. That said, I haven't seen this in person. I've only used the porcelain model, but yeah, it is something to consider if you are going to pick one of these up. So the main reason I think you would look to replace the Nest Mini with the Google Home speaker is the vastly superior acoustic setup. While the Nest Mini relies on a single small driver that fires upwards, its sound profile is absolutely fine for things like podcasts, but I do think it is noticeably lacking in bass. The home speaker, being a larger speaker, packs dedicated tweeters and a heavy mid-woofer on its actual hardware components side of things. This completely changes the way you experience media in your home. I do think while it isn't necessarily the bassest out there, it can fill a large room rather than just a small corner, maybe that the Nest Mini would have done previously. The sound profile is not amazing on either speaker. Let's be completely honest with you, these are not audiophile options, but there is an undoubted step up with this new model if you are someone who does care about the audio experience with a smart speaker such as this.
Stars breaking down, find a place you can return to, find a truth you can hold on to when the lights go out and you're lost somehow. It's not, but I'm still here breathing, so I'm here for now. If I could step outside my head and tell myself what I know. it's too late. I gotta lie to you. We both rolled around, yeah, that's where I fell. Oh, to the ground, baby. You like to move in silence, baby, so do I. This could either be hell or paradise.
The physical interaction buttons, they're scaled up as well. Both feature touch buttons beneath the fabric itself, but the larger surface area of the home speaker, I think it gives you much more reliable volume tapping and play pause controls without having to perfectly aim your finger or slap it down in the right place. That said, I don't think that the Nest Mini has really had a problem with that anyway. The microphone arrays are also spaced farther apart for the larger device, meaning it should be able to hear your voice commands over loud music and much more on top of that, at least more effectively than the tiny Mini can. And I do think that is going to be a big bonus for lots of people as well. So as long as you've actually signed up to early access to Gemini, I do think the core assistant experience on both devices is at least identical on paper, and it will feel very similar if you want to make the jump over. Even if you do use the old Google Assistant experience, it's worth noting that the Nest Mini still relies heavily on cloud processing for many of its smart home commands, which can sometimes result in a slight delay when asking for things like lights to be turned off, the thermostat to be changed, light colors to be changed, all that kind of things. Basically, you send a command, it processes it, then it takes a little bit of time to process that, and it actually happens. The difference between this and the full-size home speaker is this includes onboard machine learning chips that actually process your most common commands locally on the device. So that means performance is noticeably snappier. You will rarely see frustrating lag, and that kind of still plagues the Home Mini and the Nest Mini when asking for complex queries. Gemini processing is just faster, and as well, it does handle complex input, so multi-step processes. Again, if you have the preview option, you'll notice this does work on the Nest Mini, but it will take a lot longer than it does here on the Google Home speaker. Additionally, the larger footprint also leaves room for some more robust connection protocols. The Google Home speaker acts as a fully fledged Matter and Thread border router, meaning you can connect to smart bulbs, locks, and sensors. They can just talk to each other without needing a separate hub in your home. The Mini can participate in these networks, but it doesn't offer the same robust networking backbone as this newer, larger model. So that means that it might be a better option if you are someone who needs this in and around your home. It's also worth noting to me that while there are similarities between the experience, the Wi-Fi is a lot better as well on the new home speaker. So if you're having Wi-Fi dropouts, which tends to be a big problem with Nest Minis in general, you're probably not going to get that with the home speaker if you do intend to upgrade. So in summary, I will say there are some similarities here with another Google hardware product which was put out to pasture in favor of a bigger, more expensive option. The Nest Mini being ditched in favor of the home speaker, for me, is eerily reminiscent of the Chromecast to Google TV transition, and not just in the pricing. One of the major downsides to upgrading is that you get a bigger option, a more expensive option, and of course, this cost uptick means a lot of people will be put off. If you're just looking for a cheap way to add voice controls to a hallway, maybe a bathroom, I don't know if it's waterproof, but you probably shouldn't put it in there anyway, I do think spending the premium on the big speaker does feel a little bit unnecessary. However, comparing the two side by side does start to show some substantial improvements in usability. The daily music listening, podcast listening is what I do a lot of, and it's a lot better here, and the smart home reliability, provided you're having a good experience with Gemini. I know a lot of people don't like this transition, but for me, I have to say, I haven't had any problems with Gemini so far. It has been a lot better to me than the Google Assistant ever was with the Nest Mini. The richer sound, I think, also justifies the upgrade if you listen to lots of music, and at least music for more than a few minutes a day as well. Gemini, I don't think is quite a perfect replacement, period, and it isn't going to be a perfect replacement for everyone. It is, however, one of those options that I think is better at handling complex commands, multi-layered commands, and it's a vastly improved experience on the Google Home speaker than the preview option which is available on the Nest Mini and other Nest hardware out there. Here's the bad news, peppered with a little bit of good news as well. The Nest Mini is now officially discontinued, so we'll pour one out for the Nest Mini, but it will get Gemini, and the updates haven't stopped for that piece of hardware. That means if you do have one and you like it and you're enjoying it, just stick with a working speaker and you'll have a super powered smart home that you probably have been building over the past decade or so. And it will stick around for a while longer. Expect recent fire sales and heavy discounts on a smaller puck if they are basically hardware holdouts anywhere in brick and mortar stores. Prices have gone up online, so yeah, if you want to add one to the arsenal, might be better doing it now before prices do shoot up on online stores. I think though if you want a basic portable smart assistant, The Nest Mini still does a great job, but at the end of the day, the larger Google Home speaker is a more capable hub for those who desperately need something more substantial in their living space and want to access Gemini in their home, which again might bring about problems of its own. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Or do you just hate the idea of Gemini over the Google Assistant, the aging Google Assistant and the Google Assistant that's going to be left behind in the not too distant future? Let me know down in the comment sections below. Hopefully this comparison has helped you make that purchase decision for yourself. Cheers for watching though, and I'll speak to you later.